Today on the podcast, we're talking independent film, horror movies, and Halloween. This is the Kansas City Podcast. Welcome to the Kansas City Podcast. My name is Cole Emmerich. I'm the host with the most. Time to check my glucose. You know, many of you know me as the inventor of the safety dance, which I also danced to last night at a Halloween party. And if not, it's nice to meet you. You know, each week here on the Kansas City Podcast, we are joined by a one-of-a-kind KC native for a conversation on life in the city of fountains. What do you think of that?
I think that's great.
Okay, thank you very much. You know, I'm very excited. I have a very special guest on the show today. You know, I was like, hey, it's almost Halloween. I got to get somebody on here that knows horror. I got to get somebody on here that, you know, can scare the hell out of me. Maybe. So please welcome to the show. He has a very long list of things, but he's an independent filmmaker, a director, a writer. He was the director of the 2013 film Nailbiter.
That's correct.
Which can you watch Nailbiter? Is it online right now?
It's on. You can get it on Amazon, but it's been airing on Chiller. NBC Universal's channel.
Yeah.
It's been airing on Chiller since 2014, and it's airing next weekend on Chiller. So
okay.
But I have yet to watch it on Chiller because they edit it for television.
Oh yeah, so I bet you there's some parts in it.
I'm just like, I can't do this. I spent so much time on this movie, and then I'll see it like, you know, altered, but whatever.
And did they do like the actual the additional dialogue recording? You know, where they went and changed some words.
There's not really any swearing in the movie.
Okay.
But there's like, you know, there's I can talk about it. There's like one of the characters is always sending text messages, and her screen on her phone, which is it's a very old, it's like a 2010 phone.
Yeah.
So it already dates the movie. But she has a hand flipping the bird.
Yeah.
Well, so they like blurred the text messages in the screen, which is like a huge part of the plot.
Yeah.
Because she's sending text messages to her father.
Yeah.
So if you don't know what they say, you'll be kind of confused.
Oh, so you think that she's texting something dirty if you're watching.
Yeah, anyway.
Well, anyway, let's get to the finish of your introduction. He also has a new film, Arbor Demon, which we're going to speak about. And he works on the CBS show,
The Inspectors.
The Inspectors.
Yes.
Okay. Wait, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Patrick Rea. Patrick Rea, welcome to the Kansas City Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You know what? I am very glad to have you here. We were doing some talking earlier because our lives kind of intersected in some way or another because we both went to KU.
It's true.
We both lived in Hashinger for a period of time. But I want to talk to you specifically about, directing and being like an independent filmmaker here in the Kansas City area.
Okay, yeah.
But before I even get there, I have another question.
Okay.
What's the scariest movie that you watched when you were growing up?
Oh boy!
Like, what was
the
Dark
Crystal?
The Dark Crystal. Are you serious?
For me, that movie, like, and I tell people this because they're always like, "Oh, let me guess, like The Exorcist." I'm like, no. They're like The Omen, no. Poltergeist, no. Those movies never scared me. They're like my favorite horror movies,
right?
But something about The Dark Crystal, even when I watch it now, I'm like, this movie is terrifying, and it was because it was made for kids.
Yes.
And so
Who do they have? The Sketskis.
I don't think that's how you say it.
It might not be.
Sketsky. I rewatched the movie recently.
Yeah.
And it's now, in my adulthood, I can watch it now from a technical standpoint and say, oh my God, this is like a crowning achievement in puppetry.
Yeah.
But as a child, I was like, I didn't care about the technical side of it. I was just terrified. And I used to hide behind the couch because my parents they'd pop it in the VCR, and they're like, all right, here's your movie for today. I'm like, no, not this one again. But that movie, I don't know what it is. The tone of it, the music, I find it very eerie and disturbing.
I think you and I are in the same boat because I remember watching it as a kid and being freaked out, and then watching it again as an adult and being like, "Oh my God, how the hell did they pull some of this crap off?"
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. You're like, this is some of the best puppetry I have ever seen, and the amount of time and effort that went into it. Like, if they were to make it now, it would be all bad CGI. Which apparently there's a Netflix prequel that's going to be on.
Well, let's hope
series.
It's not.
Let's just see if they actually.
Let's hope they go for it.
Yeah, let's hope they go for it. But that movie, and then there was always Labyrinth, but never scared me. I thought Labyrinth was way too silly to scare me.
Yeah. Well, and if you looked at David Bowie's crotch for too long, you got scared.
That
anyway.
actually was scary. I was like, it's like a sock, and funny that movie was on TV recently, and they blurred his crotch.
Oh. Brilliant.
It was on like Comet or something like that, and they actually like
When I was a kid, it was always the movie that freaked me out. It's similar, I'd say, to Dark Crystal. Little Monsters with Howie Mandel.
Yeah.
That movie scared the hell out of me.
And it just showed up on Netflix streaming.
I don't even want to see it. I still get nightmares from that thing.
I thought about showing my kid that, and I'm like, no, 'cause she likes Goosebumps, and I'm like, but I remember that movie being pretty intense.
Yeah.
Like the guy's face melting and stuff like that. Yeah. But that one was pretty good.
Yeah, Little Monsters. Howie Mandel. I don't want it. I don't want any part of it. So, Patrick, you've directed many films.
Okay.
I mean, if you pull up your IMDb, what do you got? 100 listings? 120?
Maybe not quite that many, but
you're getting there, right?
Getting there, yeah.
What drew you to horror? Why horror?
There's a number of reasons. I grew
how's
up,
that for a broad question?
I was born in 1980, so like my whole childhood, like I was barred from watching Freddy Krueger and Jason.
Yeah.
But I watched them anyway. And I remember I was like, 8 years old, and I was like, because it was 1988, and like I remember you couldn't escape Freddy Krueger if you wanted to. Like he was on cover of magazines. He was the hometown theater.
He's everywhere. Yeah.
I grew up in Nebraska, so the hometown theater had like the next Friday or Nightmare on Elm Street movie, and I would just stare at the poster and I would try to draw the posters when I would get home, and so I was always like fascinated with it because it was like the forbidden fruit.
Yeah,
that my parents were like, no, you shouldn't be watching them.
They were keeping it from you, and
right.
so you wanted
and so
it more.
Therefore, whenever one of those movies would be on TV, like it was back when you had your dial on your television, and Cinemax, was blocked, but you could still see it, and it had like the little bar that would, and the noise, the beep that would go do 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 do,
yep.
and you could still watch it a little bit of it, and then occasionally it would come in enough that you could see it. I remember watching Friday the 13th Part 5 on Cinemax through those little scan lines or whatever in my bedroom, and from that point on I was just fascinated with horror movies.
So then when did you decide you wanted to start making them?
I mean fairly early. Like I was probably a tween when I was really interested. I had a subscription to Fangoria magazine.
Yeah.
And which was my parents were kind enough to get me for Christmas. They're like, we're going to get you a subscription. They were very supportive parents. And once I hit about 11 or 12, they were starting to like, okay, you can watch it if you want to. I remember I begged to see Child's Play 3 in the theater when it came out.
Oh, wow.
Which was actually shot in Missouri. A lot of it was shot in Missouri. And it was like it was the same time that Freddy's Dead came out and like The People Under the Stairs, and my parents were like, you have to pick one. So I picked Child's Play 3, and my parents wrote me a little note for the so I could take to the theater, and I mean it was a small town in Nebraska, and then they let me in, so I got to see it when I was almost 12 at that point.
Yeah,
and
then you said, I want a camera, I want to do this.
Right, and so when I got to high school, it was kind of a unique situation because my hometown high school had its own channel.
Oh, okay.
So it was like a public access channel in like this small Nebraska town of like 4,000
I would have loved
people.
for that as a kid. Man.
It was called Channel 99, and it was basically it was made to air basketball and football games and stuff like that. So I was always in charge of filming the basketball games, and we had like 4 cameras, and we'd switch between them and stuff like that. It was actually really sophisticated for
for a high school AV team. Yeah.
Late 90s. So I would stick around after school and make little videos that were just preposterous and horrible, but I would air them live. I would like make something and then I would just pop it in the thing, and then I would go home and it would be on the TV. So it was kind of like it became kind of an obsession.
See what you could get on the
I was like building
99.
little spaceships, and I had like my own green screen, and I would like it was just and some of that stuff. It was just horrible, it got me started, and I just remember the high school janitor would get so mad at me because I would stay after school and he wanted to go home, and he would be vacuuming the area that I was working in, and I would be using fishing line, and I would leave it on the floor because I couldn't see it, and so he would actually like vacuum up the fishing line, and it would get clogged up in his vacuum cleaner. So then he would yell at me, and I was just like, okay, I'm sorry, dude.
I'm just making movie magic.
Yeah. So
leave me alone.
And I had this little garden gnome. I was making these little movies with this garden gnome. So I'd go around town and then people would see these movies on Channel 99, So I would walk in with the garden gnome into like the bowling alley, and they'd be like, "I know what you're gonna do. Go ahead, go for it." So I go in with a video camera, and I'd be putting the garden gnome on like the bowling lane, and then like doing all this stuff. And
The Adventures of the Traveling Gnome,
yeah,
right?
so it was fun. I had a good time with it.
You were Travelocity commercials before Travelocity.
People always, my mom always joked about that. She goes, "They copied you." Yes, Mom. They totally saw these crappy videos I made in Skyler, Nebraska. But anyway, so it was that was a good way to get started. And then from there, I went to community college in Columbus, Nebraska. I graduated from community college in 2 years and then transferred to KU.
Right.
So
then you did KU film.
Right.
Or you graduated from KU. Did you ever make it to, like, make it is the wrong term, but like, were you always like, hey, I should keep doing films here, like locally, like in the city, or were you like, hey, I think I'm going to make that jump and try out like LA and go to LA?
You know, it was interesting. I
asked this question to like a lot of like filmmakers, people, and everyone's got a different like take on it,
some
because
of
them are like, I don't want to go out there and do it because I think I could still accomplish it here.
Yeah.
And all the red tape out there is just too much.
That's absolutely true.
Is that okay?
Around, I think it was 2003, I decided I was going to apply to grad school at USC. And for some reason, there was a mix-up with my transcripts.
Well, that's always good.
Well, I went to my community college, and they sent an envelope to me because I wanted my transcripts. So they sent an envelope to me, and so you're not supposed to open your transcripts. So I just mailed the envelope with a package to USC. Turns out the envelope that was mailed to me from my community college was an envelope saying that they couldn't send me my transcripts until I don't know, brought them a shrubbery or something. Anyway, so like USC emails me and they're like, "You were denied. Sorry, we opened up your you didn't get all your transcripts in." I'm like, okay, well, I guess that was a sign that I should not do that. So I ended up staying in Lawrence. I got a part-time job at Channel 6 in Lawrence. Yeah. And I worked there for 8 years.
Wow.
I left in 2010. That's where I met my wife. In the I started making a lot of films on my own in the mid 2000s, and they started playing at film festivals. And so it was around 2006 that at the time Free State Studios decided to make my short films part of their annual budget, so I could make 3 or 4 short films with the Free State Studios logo on it.
Nice.
And then circulate them at film festivals. And I'm forever grateful for that opportunity, because that was kind of like the first time I was like, oh, I can make a film and pay people a little bit of money at the same time.
Everyone gets paid.
Everyone gets paid. So that was my first taste of it. And then I started making Nailbiter in like around 2009, 2010, which was a long process. How
long did it take you for Nailbiter?
I mean, if you were to say shooting was a couple years, took 2 years to shoot, because we shot half of the movie, actually 2/3 of the movie, ran out of money. Yeah. Had to raise money for an entire year. Yeah. And then go back and shoot the rest. And luckily the actors never changed. And it's one of those things where nobody knows when there is a moment in the film where one of the actresses turns around and it's a year later. Literally, it's like a reaction. And it's like, okay, and this is where we picked up, and you can't tell, because it was great because we were able to edit the whole movie up until that point.
Nice.
And then when we came back a year later, I was like, all right, this is exactly how everything looked. This is how you looked.
Right.
And so it was fine.
Now I just need you to turn.
Thank you for not gaining 100 pounds in the 1 year that we had a break. But that was a whole year of anxiety, because I was like, God, am I ever going to finish this movie? Yeah. Because I mean, that's what you worry about. You put all this time and effort into this thing, and you're like, oh my God, we're not going to come back and finish it. So then we started doing basically all of post-production took through 2011. Yeah. Which was, a long process. And then 2012 was the film festival circuit. Okay. So we started showing it at film festivals. We won Best Feature at Shriek Fest in Los Angeles.
Oh, that's a big one.
Played the New York City Horror Film Festival. So we had really good luck. And then we got a meeting with Lionsgate, and they picked up the movie for distribution. And in 2013, they picked it up in 2012, but then it took me almost a whole year to get all of the deliverables in, because that's a whole other process of that's like the final process of, but it's like you get this thick contract, and it's like you need to have this. And I'm like, I don't know what half this stuff is. Yeah, I do now, but at the time I was like, I nobody taught me this in film school. Right. So that took me a while, and then the film finally got released May of 2013. It was in the red box. And then it started airing on Chiller in 2014, and it's been airing on Chiller now like once a month, sometimes twice a month, ever since then. And so it's airing next week on Chiller, and it's kind of developed a following. So I'm finally going to make a second movie.
Oh, so you can do a sequel?
Yeah. The plan is to shoot one next year. That's the plan.
Very nice.
And I've got a number of projects in the works right now, and I'm just trying to make sure that they all don't conflict with each other.
Right.
Like,
it's all about time, right?
it's all about time. And this is the, for me, this is like a personal film. Like the other projects I'm working on would probably be shot not in Kansas City. So I'm trying to shoot the sequel here in Kansas City.
Yeah.
And so the script is done, and we just need some money to make the film.
So if you have some money,
if you have some money,
have to throw Patrick's way, he will gladly take it.
I will gladly accept. So yeah, no, and it's one of those things where, because it's been airing on television, I get a lot of messages every time it airs. Hey, is there a second one? Because it ends on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, you're right.
So so then that movie came out, and in around 2014 we started. Michelle Davidson, who you should have on your podcast at some point. She hosts Casey Live.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She's my co-writer on the majority of my projects. She and I wrote a script called Enclosure. And
I want to hear the story on this.
Okay. So the movie is almost entirely inside of a tent. It's about a married couple, and they're out camping, and they're actually not far from a group of hunters. And then one night, the hunters are attacked by something from the woods, and they can't see what it is, and they hear one of the hunters crying. So the husband runs out and saves the hunter and pulls him into the tent. So it becomes this, like, there's now 3 of them in this tent, and for some reason, whatever attacked the hunters won't come near the tent.
Oh.
So they're kind of pinned down in this situation. And obviously there's more to it.
Right. You're giving the basics. I like it so far. You're doing good so far.
Right.
I'm on board.
The movie stars Jake Busey. He was the villain in the film. And Fiona Dourif, who is actually Brad Dourif's daughter.
Right,
from
Brad Dourif.
the Chucky films. And she's
And Deadwood. I loved him in Deadwood.
Yeah, and she just was in the new Cult of Chucky movie that just came out.
Okay.
And then Kevin Ryan, who is a great actor. I think he's going to be popping up on the Blacklist TV show this season. So we shot the movie December of 2015 in Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay.
And we shot the entire movie in 12 days.
Ooh, that's a hell of a schedule.
It was a hell of a schedule. 6 days of shooting, 1 day off, and then there are 6 days of shooting.
Ooh.
So I came in very prepared. Luckily, I had a lot of storyboards.
I had
storyboarded the whole movie and re-storyboarded several sections of it because originally we wrote the movie to be set in Missouri in the Ozarks.
Yeah.
And then when we got the financing in Charleston, we decided to rewrite the script so it was set more in the Low Country. So we had to change the mythology of the creature in the movie, and because the mythology.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, there's a creature in the movie.
There's a creature.
But the mythology was based more around Ozarkian folklore as opposed to Low Country.
South Carolina
folklore. So we had to kind of alter that. So it was a very quick shoot and intense. And the tricky part was we had a lot of outdoor stuff, and we were shooting in December. So that meant that the sun would come up around 7:30 and then go down at 4. Because, I mean, if you're in the woods, because most of the movie is in the woods, the sun gets over a certain point, and then all of a sudden the light is completely different. So it's more like 3:30.
Right.
And I had these complicated scenes to shoot with, creature effects and Jake Busey and, a four-wheeler and all this stuff. And they're like, you got to get this whole section of the movie shot in 1 day. So I was like, okay. And so I had to hustle,
Yep.
And the crew was great. And it was a really good experience. The movie ended up taking about 1.5 years of post, because that's just the way it works. The sound design, the visual effects.
Yeah.
Color correction.
Oh, we nailed it.
Color correction was done here in Kansas City. The visual effects were done in Denver. Editing was partially done here and partially done in Los Angeles. I ended up cutting about half the movie, and the other editor in LA cut the other half, and then he took my half and then made it
work.
Right. And then he did the sound design. Score was actually done in Lawrence. A composer that I worked with, Nathan Towns, did the music. And it was a long process. My daughter was 2 years old when I was working on the movie in the editing room, and that was difficult because I work from home.
Yeah.
So most of the time she's with me, and it was like trying to make this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
so
busy. You're a busy guy.
Yeah, and so the movie premiered in London in August of 2016 at the Fright Fest Film Festival, which is like one of the top 5 horror film festivals, and got good reviews. Got picked up by a distributor, Gravitas Ventures, and then I found out in September that there was a plan to change the title of the movie,
which would make you. I mean, I imagine that kind of pissed you off.
I'm going to be honest, yes.
Yeah, I mean, you put all this time and effort into it.
Yeah,
and
I was
like,
not happy
change
about
your
it.
name.
I was not happy about it, but it was one of those things where I understood why it was happening. There was never a point where I was just like, "Why is this happening?" Because I knew exactly why.
Yeah.
It was because the way indie film is working out right now is VOD is where it's at for these smaller films,
right?
And you need to have. There's a lot of films being made, and there's a lot of horror, so you need to stick out as much as possible.
Yeah.
So they're like, we need an A title or a B title. So they came to me and they're like, look, can you come up with some alternate titles for this movie?
They'd either start with the letter A or B.
Right.
Okay.
So that people in America don't have to scroll past the letter C to find a movie. And I was like, it was really depressing.
We need it now. Letter A.
Yeah. So I came up with a lot of choices, and Michelle had a lot of choices, and we sent them in, and they were all rejected as being too vague. They wanted something right on the nose. This is what the people are getting.
Yeah.
So they went with Arbor Demon, which I was not happy about. And now it's
that kind of tells what it is.
It really does. Like the movie, first of all, like I grew up in Nebraska, which is home of Arbor Day, so I thought I was just like, this can't be real. But like. The thing is,
the
like
Arbor Day Demon,
Arbor Demon, which it really once you see the movie, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But like, what I was surprised about was how many people had no idea what that word meant. So I had people messaging me, and they're like, "So is that like based off the location? Is that like a regional thing?"
Right.
And I'm like, not Ann Arbor, Michigan. Like this is Arbor meaning tree, and they're like, "Oh, like tree demon." I'm like, "Yeah." Because I had some people who were like, saw the movie in England, and they're like, I gotta Google what the word arbor means. So they would, tree. Okay. So I had to suck it up. It was a very, things could have been worse. Like they didn't change the edit of the film. It was my cut of the film.
Okay, well that's good.
So the only thing that really got altered was the title. So they just swapped it out.
All right.
And
so what's the plan with it now? Is it?
Well, it got released in England.
Yeah.
It came out on VOD, and it had a limited theatrical, which meant it was playing in 4 or 5 theaters in the country. February 3rd. So it actually got. It was actually at Screenland that weekend, which was cool, and so I was very thankful. And then it came out on DVD in April, so it was at like Family Video and stuff like that. And then it came out in England, or the UK. It came out in the UK for streaming in May under its original title.
Okay.
Enclosure.
Okay.
The UK didn't change it. And then it came out on DVD in the UK in August. Yeah. So that's what's been going on. And it's coming out in different countries right now. And depending on which country, it'll be either called Enclosure or Arbor Demon. Right. Just to keep things interesting. Yeah, I never know if I Google it and if it pops up like from Germany, and I think it's coming out in Germany in December, sometime around there as Arbor Demon.
Okay,
so
you don't know. It's like
and
roll of dice.
And the movie is like this very slow burn horror film that is based off of it's like a character piece, and it's all performance because they're stuck in this tent together.
Right,
and it's not like a grotesque gore fest. There's almost like very little blood in the movie. I wouldn't call it necessarily artsy, but it has a very artful element to it.
Okay.
Beautiful cinematography. So the title Arbor Demon does not fit in my mind because it was like something that was like I would associate a title like that with something like you would see on the Sci-Fi Channel. Not to dog that, but I'm just saying like that was the kind of more exploitive B movie horror. And this is more of a thoughtful horror film. So but I just kind of had to just suck it up. you know?
Yeah.
Because you want your movie out
Well,
there.
yeah, because you want people to see it.
You want people to see it, and so I had to just
and the people that'll like it and really enjoy it will go and seek out more information about it and realize that it may have originally been called Enclosure and stuff like that.
Horror,
that's the hope, right?
A lot of horror fans are savvy, and they know that when the movie was first getting some publicity on the horror sites, it was called Enclosure. And whenever there's a title change to any horror movie, a lot of horror fans know. They're kind of like, this was formerly called Enclosure.
Right.
So I ended up just kind of accepting it, and it's on Hulu now. Yeah. So that's exciting.
Cool.
So I'm very thankful about that as well. So the movie's gotten around, and it's an interesting thing because whenever you make a horror movie, genre fans, it's always polarizing because some horror fans like gore, some like suspense, some like more thoughtful, slow-paced, slow burn horror.
Right.
So it just depends on what.
So there's certain type of everybody's a different fan.
So your movie's always going to be kind of like split down the middle. Like some people would be like, "Oh, there wasn't enough boobs. There weren't any boobs." Or gore, and then the other people were like, "Well, this movie
wasn't cool enough."
Yeah, or this one was. Some people were like, "Wow, this movie was really interesting and it was original and took things in a direction I didn't expect." So you always are going to have that kind of reaction, I think.
Yeah.
So I just kind of have to accept it. And just make the movie, be true to the movie that you were trying to make.
So when you were filming that, and even though you were filming it over 12 days, I assume it was probably a pretty exhilarating process in getting done. But as a horror director, when you're working at that type of pace, is it just, do you feel any of the payoff during that, or is it just like go, 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 go?
It's go, 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 go.
It's go, go, go.
Yeah.
But then when you edit it, where you're like, oh, I kind of pulled that off.
Yeah. When you start seeing it put together is when you're, and even with music, you're like, oh,
thank goodness I got that shot.
Oh, it gels, But
it works.
But when you're shooting it, it's kind of like a fight or flight thing. You're just like, depending on what the pace is, you have to get it done in a certain amount of time. You've got all these people working on it. You don't want to go overtime because people want to get paid overtime.
Yeah.
So it becomes this whole thing where it's like get in and get it done to the best you can under the circumstances that you're, making the film. And there's always things like I plan as much as I can. Like I do storyboards and I do, shot lists and rehearsals, but whenever you get on set, there's always something, whether it be the weather. Yeah. All of a sudden you can't shoot outside. It's pouring rain. I can't shoot outside, so I have to think about what I'm going to shoot instead.
Right.
And you're always, there's just all these things. They're like, okay, the makeup is going to take 6 hours, and the actor is SAG, so he can't be past a certain amount of hours, and then it takes another 2 hours to 3 hours to get the makeup off. So that means that I have this tiny window of time to shoot with him. It's just those things.
It's a big balancing act.
It is. And you just have to accept it. Don't try to fight it. There's always going to be some chaotic thing that you have to deal with. And embrace the chaos, I guess.
Yeah.
But
are you still having fun?
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like if you're making a horror movie, it's got to be a little bit of fun, just because you're dealing with blood and you're dealing with other like effects and things like that.
There's always
what do they always say? Like making a drama and a horror is like a lot of fun, and making a comedy is like super nerve wracking, right?
Because you don't know if any of the jokes are working,
right?
Like, and comedy is so hard, and it's more subjective than even horror. Like some people, you can watch. I could put a funny movie, I think is funny on for somebody, and they'll just sit there stone faced.
Yeah.
I guess comedy for me is way more difficult.
Yep.
And I think horror comedy is hard to get the right balance.
Oh yeah.
That's why a lot of people don't try to tackle horror comedy because, like, I see you have a copy of Shaun of the Dead here, which I would say is probably one of the top 5 horror comedies of all time.
Yeah.
Maybe even top 3.
I'd say so.
Yeah. And it's because it just hit that sweet spot of the blend of horror and drama and comedy, and it's amazingly difficult to
pull that
off. Yeah.
When you're in my mind, every time I think of a horror movie, the thing that I always think about is like that part in the movie where it's like the close up of someone's face and like they're starting to scream, you know,
Yeah.
and it's like something's coming at them or whatever.
Right.
How do you cast for that? Do you have like in your mind like a certain type of face that you're looking for? Like, you know, oh, this person's gonna die, so I need to make sure that they have that type of face that like, oh, something's coming at, because that's always the part that sticks in my mind. Like you see the face, they turn, and someone's coming toward them, they scream and everything.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's always about just performance. Like I think with casting Nailbiter, for instance, I did all the casting here in town, and I brought in so many different people, and ultimately it was just like I wasn't reading people for screams. I was reading them for how well they gelled with each other, because it's about a mom and three daughters are like the main characters, and I wanted to make sure they seemed like a family.
Yeah.
And I think at one point we told them all to go shopping together and just get to know each other, and they actually started to become like like on set. The rapport was perfect.
Oh yeah. Nice little
and
family over there.
With Enclosure, I just wanted Fiona was cast as the lead, and we wanted somebody who was interesting.
Yeah.
You know, because you watch a lot of horror movies where they cast almost caricatures.
Yeah.
Where it's almost like you forget, they just don't do like when the movie's over, you forget them.
Right.
Right. And I wanted to go
like, oh, you know that guy's gonna die.
Yeah, right. So I wanted somebody who was like could command your attention, and after the movie is over, like their face is imprinted in your memory.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's way more, and I think that's why Jamie Lee Curtis, for instance, became so successful, is because she's not like the typical what am I trying to say? She's not the typical perfectly, you know, gorgeous.
Right.
She's interesting looking.
Yes, she's got like a face.
She's compelling. You immediately you just can't. You watch her,
your
and you're
eyes
like,
draw to her.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly, and that is why I think she has been so successful over the years.
Yeah.
And I think Fiona's got a great future as well. I mean, when you watch the new Chucky movie, she's commands your attention through the whole thing. Like, and she's great. She's actually a really good actress. That's another thing. You got to find somebody who's interesting looking and is a really good actress. And same thing with Jake. Jake was one of those guys where we cast him as the villain, and you can't take your eyes off of him.
Yeah.
And then Kevin as well. Kevin was fantastic. Actually, Kevin Ryan was the first person cast in the movie. And I mean, that guy he's popping up in a lot of stuff right now.
That's awesome. We are going to take a quick break.
Okay.
We'll be right back here with Patrick Rea.
Cool.
Hey, Cole here from the Kansas City Podcast. Thanks to those of you who have been sending us questions for the KC quiz. You know, we review each question and we take a great look at it. We send it through a very specific 5-point star rating system to see, is this a question that should go on the KC quiz? And I gotta tell you, every single one of them passed with flying colors. So remember, if you have some questions for the KC quiz, just send them to us through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, doesn't matter, or just tweet at Kansas City Pod, and we will get those answered by our next guest. Back to the show. Welcome back to the Kansas City Podcast. Cole Limberg. I'm here with Patrick Rea.
Hello.
Patrick, during the break, Patrick and I pitched Patrick. As many of you who listen to the podcast know that I have a great film idea, and I pitched it to Patrick. And how did you feel about it?
Amazing.
Yes. No, we were talking about my animated. Now, Patrick Poe, who was on the show a couple weeks ago, Patrick and Lolo, they said it should be a short. It's an animated film about a small firecracker in China that's trying to make his way to America.
Oh, I like this.
So it's like Fievel Goes West, you know, like there's
Okay.
but all of his friends keep blowing up around him because he's a firecracker.
Sure.
So he's trying to make it to America, but at the same time there's always the threat
that somebody's gonna light his fuse.
Yes, of explosions. So it's a cross between like Sausage Party, Toy Story, a little bit of Fievel Goes West. And how do you feel about this?
I feel like it has this existential element to it that the purpose of my life is to blow up.
Yes.
Yeah. I like that. No, that's good.
What do you think?
Let's do it.
Will you produce it?
Oh, sure. Put me on the record.
We're on board. It's time for one of our favorite parts of the show. It is time for the KC quiz.
All right. Let's hopefully I won't fail this miserably.
All right, Patrick, you know how this works. Here's the deal. I'm going to ask you some questions.
Okay.
Casey-related questions. You will receive points for these questions.
Sweet.
50 points max. If I ask you a question, you don't like the question, all you have to say is, stupid question. And remember,
There's no such thing as a stupid question. Come on.
Well, here on the Casey quiz, there might be.
Okay.
And then remember, folks, you can always tweet us at Kansas City Pod if you would like your question added to the Casey quiz. I'm going to start right here at the top.
Okay.
It's everyone's favorite question. This is the one that I always begin with.
Okay.
Remember, no wrong answers.
Okay.
No bad answers. Here we go. You ready? Your favorite restaurant that's not barbecue.
Oh, because I had one that was barbecue.
Okay, well, we'll get to barbecue in a minute.
Favorite restaurant that's not
we
barbecue.
We have to separate them out because we're here in Kansas City, so we have to separate them out, because everybody knows barbecue. So what's the one that's not barbecue that you're thinking,
man.
That's my go-to spot? And if you have more than one, that's okay.
What is the name? Oh, man, I'm blanking on the name.
Blanking on the name. Are we going to have to Google something?
It's it's in Zona Rosa.
It's in Zona Rosa.
Yeah. It's
What
it's like a pizza place.
Oh, the like Stone.
Is it
not Stone.
Zio's or something like that, or
It's a pizza place.
yeah? Why am I blanking on it? Well, actually, Minsky's would probably be my favorite.
Oh, okay. Well,
We'll
Minsky's
go with
is good too. Okay.
Minsky's is like the thing about Minsky's is that where I live now they don't deliver,
Okay.
so I always have to like just go there.
What's your go-to for Minsky's? I'm a big fan of the 5-star cheese.
I go for the thin crust wheat pepperoni.
You're thinking of Stone Canyon.
Yeah, Stone Canyon. Yeah.
Okay. There we go. I looked it up.
Yeah.
Stone Canyon. But okay, so now you got to make a choice.
Okay.
Minsky's or Stone Canyon.
I think I actually prefer Minsky's now that I think about it.
Okay, you're going Minsky's.
Yeah.
Okay, well now let's turn on its head. Your favorite barbecue.
Oh, Char Bar.
Char Bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What-
We just ate there and it was like the perfect. I had the barbecue chicken and it was just the perfect meal.
Perfect meal.
Perfect
Go to
meal.
Char Bar.
Yeah.
I like it. 5 points. Here we go. Do you have a favorite bar you like going to?
Man.
I mean, I imagine when you're out there amongst the people and you're out scoping around.
Well,
you're going
I love
to a bar
Uptown.
and you're like,
I love Uptown.
You
but
love
yeah,
Uptown,
I do
okay.
love Uptown. Yeah. Shout out to David Hayden. I love Uptown.
Well, David, I think chances are good we might hear David on the show here real soon.
Yeah. I think I'd have to go with Uptown.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got a favorite game to play at Uptown?
Oh man. I like skee ball
Okay.
and I will play skee ball for hours
Okay.
and never get bored.
Never get bored. Do you like are you good enough at skee ball to get it in like the top corner pocket?
Every now and then. I luck out.
Do you bank or do you go straight on?
I go straight on.
You go straight
It's
on.
like bowling for me. I just go straight. I try to go straight on as possible.
I got to bank. Like I gotta aim for something on the side, like down the lane, and if I aim for that every time and try to like bounce
Right.
it off, like get the angle right.
Right.
And so I aim for the same spot.
Yeah, I just what's the place? Power Play.
Yeah.
I play. I go to Power Play a lot too, and actually I had my birthday party there this year, and I spent most of the time at the skee ball. So
Okay. Very nice. Favorite local brew? You got a local brew? No.
not really.
Not really?
No.
You going something? You going hard liquor? You going staying away from beer?
I love beer. I'm just trying to think of a place that. I'm drawing a blank.
Okay. Remember, you can always say
zero points.
You can always say stupid question. Let's see here. Okay, this is one that always comes through. This is a Twitter question. Are boneless wings just chicken nuggets?
The boneless wings. What is the place down? It's like my favorite place to eat boneless wings, and it's in Zona Rosa again.
Do I need to look up wings?
might have to.
Man, all right. I'm getting
It's
good.
It's actually right next to Stone Canyon. It's like across the street from Barnes and Noble.
What? Buffalo Wild Wings?
No, it's
No,
not
that's-
BW3. It's God. To the point where
Hooters.
to the point where they put me on
Wingstop.
to the point where they've got me on the email list for
Hereford House.
I do love the Hereford House. No, it's like a bar across from Barnes and Noble.
Granite City.
No, you're getting close. I love Granite City.
Smokehouse.
Oh.
What? This is great radio right now.
Yeah,
What we're
I
doing.
know. I should have studied.
Well, no, I mean it's fine. You had no idea. Right across from Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Come on now. All right, keep going though.
I'm gonna keep looking. I'm gonna be looking it up here.
Wait, this is great radio.
Restaurants in
Zona Rosa. He spends a lot of time at Zona Rosa. That's what he's trying to say.
I used to live really close to Zona Rosa, and now I moved, but I'll still go there. Let's see here.
All right. Well, while you're looking that up, I'm going to ask you your next question.
Okay.
Here we go. Your. Oh wait. Well, no. I want to know though. Are the boneless wings chicken nuggets?
I think that they're. It depends on where you get them, because if you get them at like some places, they do just taste like chicken nuggets.
Right.
This specific place, Bar Louie.
Bar Louie. There we go.
Louie
Okay, the old no-doubts.
Bar Louie has the best boneless wings ever.
Really?
Yes.
I would not expect
But if I go to anywhere else with boneless wings, I'm always disappointed.
Okay.
So I usually get with the bone because it just tastes better.
Because you took so much time, 1 point.
Okay.
Your favorite, do you have a favorite local event you go to? I know, that's a good question, right?
I mean, I love First Fridays.
First
we used
Fridays
to do
are
First
blast.
Fridays a lot. Yeah.
Okay. Favorite place to hang out?
I would say the Screenland Armor.
Okay.
I love the Screenland Armor.
And how does it feel like watching one of your films? Have you gone and seen like one of your films actually at Screenland Armor?
Yeah, I mean, how
does it feel?
It's terrifying. I usually, like, what I'll do is, because they have arcade games, I will play those while the movies play. Or
you don't want to sit there and watch?
Well, I can, it's funny because, like, I can do it if it's a short film, because I make a lot of short films, too. I've actually got a new one that's on the festival circuit, and that played at the Screenland Armor a few weeks ago, and I could actually watch it. I have to stand in, like, the corner of, like, watch the reactions and stuff like that. And But there's always that fear when you're making a movie that's 90 minutes, and it's like, you sit there for 90 minutes hoping nothing goes wrong.
Yeah.
Like the audio gets out of sync, or
I can't even think of the last time I went to a movie theater and like something bad happened.
Right.
Like the audio went out of sync or it went dead or something like that.
Right.
But I can imagine if you're sitting there, if you were the one
that put it on a Blu-ray or gave them the file or whatever, you're the one. You're like, if something goes wrong,
that's an extra level of anxiety.
It's entirely your fault. Or you sit there. The worst part is you sit there and you go, man, I should have changed that. No, I didn't have time to change that. I should have done that better. So it is kind of hard to watch your movies in front of a large group of people.
Got it. You ready for your next question?
Sure.
Fuck, marry, kill. Freddy, Jason, or Michael Myers?
So I have to pick one for each?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess it'd be fuck Jason. Marry Michael Myers, kill Freddy.
Okay, brilliant. You ever go to Worlds of Fun?
All the time.
Favorite ride at Worlds of Fun?
The Mamba.
The Mamba?
Yeah.
Doing the Mamba.
Yeah, we usually go for Haunt, too.
Yeah? Did you go for Haunt this year?
My wife did, I did not.
Okay.
But I did last year. So my pregnant wife went instead of me, which is hilarious.
And she rode the Mamba.
I don't think she rode the Mamba, but I could ride the Mamba all day. I could just get back in line and ride that ride all. The ones that go around in circles, can't do.
The flats. No, you're not going to them. No. I'll give you 5 points for that. That's a good one. Another question. This came through on the Twitter.
Okay.
Who let the dogs out?
My sister? I don't know. She's got a dog, and sometimes she lets the dog out. Am I supposed to say the musician who sang that song?
No. It's just who let the dogs out. Here we go. This is a good question here. In your mind, I always interpret this question two different ways. So what's the one... This was a Twitter question, too. It's like, what's the one thing in town that everybody should try once? Okay, or like everybody should try once. Now, see, when I read this question, I read it two different ways. I read it like if you and I are hanging out and you said, hey, you got to go try this. This is the coolest place. I always think of something like if I have friends coming in out of town and I said to them like, oh, hey, what's the one thing I have to do?
Barbecue's the laziest answer ever.
Right.
Because I just had a buddy come in from Los Angeles, and he's like, I got to go to all these barbecue. He went to a different barbecue place every day. He actually had like 6 different places he went to.
Wow.
And so I'm just like, do I really want to take him to barbecue? Man, I mean, I guess, geez. That's a tricky question because like it depends. Like, I mean...
I know. Like, what's the one thing? Like, if you had your bucket list of something that people should go do, other than barbecue or just barbecue, you go to barbecue.
Go to a Chiefs game.
Okay, that works.
Yeah, if they can afford to go.
Here we go. Here's your next one. I'm going to give you 5 points for that. Put it in order.
Okay.
You can put these in order.
Okay.
Your criteria.
Okay.
Chiefs, Royals, Sporting.
I'm gonna put Sporting first because my wife was in a Sporting KC commercial. So
Okay.
and then Chiefs, and then Royals.
Then Chiefs, then Royals.
Only because my sister was a huge Chiefs fan, had like a starter jacket, Chiefs, starter jacket. So shout out to her. And then I guess I'd put Royals third.
All right. Next question. This is more of a horror related question.
Okay.
What is your Mount Rushmore of horror icons in your mind? Your Mount Rushmore. Who would you put up there? It's like is the 4.
Boy, John Carpenter probably.
Okay.
Followed closely by Wes Craven.
Okay. What else?
How many?
You have 4. It's 4. Mount Rushmore,
okay.
man.
John Carpenter, Wes. Okay, all right. John Carpenter, Wes Craven. Joe Dante, and he's kind of lesser known, but I still love him. Joe Dante, and then maybe Sam Raimi.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
And literally, Army of Darkness caught my eye right when I said that. Yeah. But Carpenter has always been king for me. So.
Carpenter King. All right, here we go. We got 2 more questions for you here on the KC quiz. Can I have $5?
I wish. Could you take credit card?
No. Damn it. All right, here we go. You're at 35 points already.
Okay.
You're doing really well. It is time now for the Google Challenge.
Oh, God.
Okay, the Google Challenge, here's what I've done. I went online. I went to Google, and I typed in a phrase. I typed in something, and I let Google autofill the phrase.
Okay.
So now you have to complete the phrase.
Okay.
Are you ready? Okay, so here we go. So according to Google, I typed in horror movies are... What does Google autofill at the end there? I typed in horror movies are.
Okay, horror movies are.
So what do you think? You got to think strategically here. What are the people searching? What is Google autofilling, auto-recommending?
Horror movies are...
A lot of points on the line. I hate to put the pressure on you.
Oh, well, see, this has been kind of the year of horror movies. It's really been, as far as like box office is concerned, horror movies have been like probably the most successful this year.
Yeah, because everybody wants to see Pennywise, right?
Everybody wants to see Pennywise. Get Out came out.
Oh, yeah, Get Out. I forgot about Get Out.
I'm going to put horror movies are popular.
Horror movies are popular.
Yeah.
Top search on Google. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Horror movies are boring.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
Again, that's that polarizing.
I know, but I mean, like all of these, they are the 3 that popped up are boring, bad, so unrealistic.
That's not fair.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's not fair. Like sometimes we do this Google challenge, and I look at the stuff and I say that is not fair in the slightest. Why are so many negatives? Here on this. I'm sorry that I'm sorry that's the Google challenge.
I've seen a lot of articles this year saying this has been the golden age of horror movies for the last.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, the reason why is because they're so cheaply made, and so the revenue can be much higher.
Well, yeah, I mean, small budget,
like
but
the new
big
Saw,
returns.
a new Saw movie came out this weekend, and it didn't have to make very much money to be successful.
Let me tally up your points here, Patrick.
Okay,
just 5 to carry the 1, 7, 20. You're at 42 points.
Okay, is that good?
That's real good. You're going to go up there on the leaderboard.
Oh, okay.
Because that does exist on our website. Okay. 42 points. Patrick, thank you so much for taking the Casey quiz.
Thank you for not asking too personal questions.
All right, we're back here with Patrick. Patrick, we're nearing the end of our time today.
Okay. That makes me sad.
What are you working on right now? What's the thing you're working? I mentioned at the top of the show the inspectors.
Yeah. So that was pretty much my whole year was this CBS family show called The Inspectors.
So it's a family show.
It's a family show, and it's on,
which is odd because
Saturday
you're
morning. Yeah, I'm diversifying.
Okay.
It's on Saturday mornings. Michelle Davidson and I co-wrote 5 episodes for season 3, which is airing right now. Wow. And then they've been shooting season 4, and we wrote 2 episodes for season 4. And then I went to Charleston and directed 2 episodes for season 3. Those 2 episodes air in January. I edited the episodes as well here in Kansas City.
Wow.
So,
wait, and the process between doing a feature and doing that is got to be light and day.
TV's much faster.
Oh, absolutely.
Much faster. So you'd think 12 days is fast on a feature film. Well, you're shooting roughly 9 pages a day on a TV show. So it was that is something you have to get used to when you're working on a TV show. Just especially something that's more, I would say, lower budget. I mean, obviously,
but all the sets are pretty much built already.
Built. That's the great thing about it is if you're shooting on a sound stage where you jump from one set to the next, and the crew has a shorthand with each other because they've been working together for so long. So it's a really interesting assembly line of how things are done.
It's a well-oiled machine.
It is truly a well-oiled machine, and the crew was great, and the cast was great, and so those episodes air in January. And then right now I'm also working on a number of feature film projects, trying to get them off the ground. There's always this period where you have to find work while you're trying to get the other movies off the ground. So I'm trying to do a Nailbiter sequel and hopefully shoot that in the summer of next year. I'm working on a movie called Sadie, tentatively titled Sadie, which Michelle Davidson and I co-wrote, which is kind of like a new take on the imaginary friend story, but really dark and creepy. And the imaginary friend is like the main character.
Okay.
So it's more from the perspective of the imaginary friend. And then I'm working on another film called Trial Canyon. And then so those are the 3 that I'm focusing on right now. And you just kind of have to push 3 and see which one goes first, I guess, in terms of finding the money and coming to fruition.
How hard is it finding money now?
It's always hard. It's always hard. I mean, people ask me how I do it, and I always tell them, well, it's different every time. There's never.
Well, it depends on the project. It
depends on the project because, the short film that I've got playing at film festivals right now called Justice Served was financed entirely by the lead actress who I wrote the script for.
Yeah.
And so she wanted to do a short film with me, and she's like, write me something, and I did. And so then she put some money into it, and we shot it. So it's different every time. Like Enclosure was financed by various different sources. Nailbiter was financed by a completely different source. And you just really, I think the key is to just not be afraid to talk to people, tell them what you're working on, and be kind, because I think and I think this is just going to be, there's been a shift, especially I think in Hollywood, not necessarily in the indie film world, but Hollywood, where I think people are sick of working with jerks. I don't know. I mean, I think it's actually, I'm hoping that that's the case, because I hate working with jerks. And whenever I work with one, I'm always like, life is too short. I shouldn't be doing this. So I feel like if you're kind to people, and a prime example of that is I had a conference call with a producer this last week, and right when we hop on the phone call, he goes, "Hey, I'm in the room with this guy that's friends with you." And I'm like, what are the odds?
Right. Right.
And, that's why it's important to be kind and respectful of people in this business, because you never know when somebody is in a room with somebody you're trying to work with.
Right.
Got
to pass on the good word.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think that's the name of the game. And I think if you keep doing that, you'll continue to find work and be successful.
What is your what's in your mind? What's the thing that, like, do you have like a big massive dream, like out of like making a film, like, hey, I've got something that's nationally ranked or big box office success, or I mean, what do you?
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple that are ridiculously like.
What's your shooting stars there?
It's funny because like I always focus on these smaller movies that I know I can make happen. But when I first got started, when I came to KU, I had all these ridiculously extreme ideas. And then you start realizing you need to narrow your focus and make something that you can get done.
Right.
So there's this movie that I want to make that's set on the ocean. And I don't know if it's because the ocean for me was such a foreign thing when I was growing up in Nebraska. Like, cornfields, But the ocean, no. And so I've got this movie. It's kind of like a futuristic Moby Dick on the ocean.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to make it, and I've pitched it to a few people. But it's one of those things where it's like, what's the worst thing you can do? as a filmmaker, shoot on the ocean. You always hear horror stories about making Jaws and how difficult it was, and how Spielberg was this close to getting fired and just all that stuff. So it's like that's my pie in the sky movie that I would like to make at some point. And there's other ones and the thing is that you have to have multiple ones because
you have to work your way up.
You have to work your way up, but then you also you'll open up. You'll read on IMDb Pro, this movie is now in pre-production, and you're like, wow, that's a lot like the idea that I had that I would have loved to have made.
Yeah.
So then you have to say, well, I have this other one.
Right.
Can't
You got to have multiple, lots of stuff in the pipeline.
Right. Otherwise, you'll just be disappointed.
Yeah.
Don't just have one movie idea, have multiple ideas, because if one all of a sudden gets made,
that's okay. I mean, there's some movies that they're the same as others. That's all right.
That's true. True.
It's like when I always think about when the two different magician movies came out at the same time.
Deep Impact and Armageddon.
Yeah.
Do you remember when there was 2 Christopher Columbus movies that came out the same year? 1992.
I don't.
There was
remember that
a
one.
Christopher Columbus's Discovery. They had Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
And then they had 1492 Conquest of Paradise, directed by Ridley Scott. And I just remember thinking, I'm like, nobody wanted one Christopher Columbus movie. Why did they greenlight 2?
Yeah. I always remember the one that always sticks out to me is there was the Edward Norton movie, The Illusionist or whatever.
Yeah, and then Prestige.
The Prestige at the same time. And of course, the Prestige was blew The Illusionist out of the
but
water.
they were both pretty good.
They were both good, but I was just sometimes it comes in waves like that. What's the other one?
Volcano and Dante's Peak.
Dante's Peak.
Which I remember I went and saw both of them in the theater.
So if you would have been working on your movie and Master and Commander came out at the same time or something like that, then yeah.
Except mine's in the future, so it's a little different. It's the idea of sea life has pretty much died.
Waterworld.
No, not Waterworld. But it's okay. So imagine this. So it's a world where sea life is in the ocean is kind of depleted to the point where the fish are dying and there's not that much sea life. So they end up finding another moon that has ocean water, and they decide that they're going to take some of that ocean water and mix it with Earth's water to replenish the environment.
Okay.
And so then it creates these whole new species of whales and stuff like that. But then it becomes a thing where they have to send out whaling ships to control the population of the creatures and stuff like that.
Okay.
So that's kind of the setup of the world that it takes place in.
See, I like this.
Yeah.
You can get money for this.
Yeah, I mean, but it's one of those things where I'm working to. I need to get a few more things under my belt before I can pitch that idea, because I don't want to not make it. If I pitch it and then they're like, that's a great idea. All right, we're gonna give it to this guy, and you're cut out.
They want you. Yeah.
So it's I'm just kind of I'll pace myself. I'll probably be 60 when I make that movie.
That's okay. That could be that. You work your way up there.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're still making movies when you're 60, then you've already accomplished more than most of the people that thought they were going to be filmmakers.
I'm 37 now, and I'm still working. It's okay. I'm glad, because it's you're, especially when you're doing it in Kansas City, and people criticize that decision sometimes. They're like, well, you can't be doing this in Kansas City. You can't be working as a filmmaker or editor or whatever. And I'm like, well. It's gotten to the point now where most production isn't done in Los Angeles. Most of it's done in Atlanta. Most of it's done in Vancouver. If you're a writer, you can do it anywhere. Yeah. You could be on the moon and still, well, not quite the moon, but anyway,
you could be way out there.
You could be, as long as you have internet and you can send your script, it's fine, And so I think that it's all changed, and I think that I was lucky enough to have gotten into working in this business around the time where that was possible. Because I think if I had, done it 20 years earlier, I would have moved to Los Angeles. I would have had to survive. So,
well, technology changing and everything. There's just so much more stuff you can do now.
Right. I mean, we have just as much camera gear here than It's the same gear, same cameras.
Kansas City, no green screens in Kansas City.
Yeah, sorry, there's no green screens. But yeah, no, I think it's an interesting time, and I think that. The trick now is making money off your film, because of the way things have changed now with distribution with VOD.
Do you find out how many people have watched your movie on VOD? Did they give
somebody
you numbers?
does. Because I'm not a producer on Enclosure or Arbor Demon, I am probably never going to see that stuff.
You'll never know.
I'll never know.
You'll just collect the sweet checks in the mail.
Well, no, not even that. The thing is that you just, it's one of those things where that movie. I had to accept the fact that that movie was my portal to the next movie. You know, you just
Right.
have to keep moving forward, and so I'll probably never see actual
Numbers on it.
But
if they keep coming back to you, then that
right.
means that something good has happened.
Right. You know, and I'm amazed if you Google the movie how many places it's been pirated. Which that is something that, like, you know, a lot of filmmakers just detest. And it's unfortunate that that's kind of where things are at now, and I think that's why a lot of independent filmmakers are struggling now, is because the pirating has just gotten to the point where, like, if you release your movie to iTunes or VOD, I mean, we're talking like it's pirated the next hour.
Yeah.
So it's rough, and then all of a sudden it's on all these torrents, and you're just like, well, I guess it's
out there.
and you can't do it. I mean, and I remember with Nailbiter, it was 2013, so it was still a little early, but it still got pirated. The movie got pirated, but I think it was from a film festival, and I still don't have any idea how which film festival.
Wait, like
But
somebody in the theater was filming it, or they
no,
stole the
I
file?
think you send screeners to film festivals,
Yeah.
and sometimes one just gets leaked, and they pull the file off the disc, and then it gets popped up on a BitTorrent, and you're just like, what are you gonna? I mean,
You can't do anything about it.
I mean, and the thing about it is the big Hollywood movies. I know that a lot of the times the studios are always like, stop the pirating, but some of those big Hollywood movies, people are going to go see. They're going to go see them no matter what. If it's a Marvel movie,
Everyone's going to go see Star Wars.
Everyone's
anyway.
going to go see Star Wars, even if it's pirated. You know, so it really hurts the filmmakers who are making like $100,000 movies, and they're trying to recoup. It's just that's who it hurts the most.
Got it.
So.
I hate to end on such a dour note.
No. I'm really enjoying myself.
Patrick.
Happy thoughts.
Patrick, where can people find you if they want to look you up? Or
Look me up on Facebook, because I find that that's really where I think it's just Patrick Rea on Facebook, REA. It's the best way. But I'm not a super good Twitter person.
Okay.
I'm not on Instagram.
Okay.
But Facebook, it's kind of where I build that's my most used social media outlet at this point.
And then you can watch Nailbiter probably once a month on Chiller.
And then Arbor Demon's on Hulu.
Okay.
And The Inspectors, whenever our episodes, we had one air, not this weekend, but the last weekend that we co-wrote. And that's on CBS Saturday mornings. And I think in Kansas City, it's on at 11:30 on KCTV5. And then it's different. Like Omaha, it's like 9:30 or 10:30 or whatever.
Very nice. Folks, remember, you can always find me on Twitter at Cole Lindbergh. Check out our website, theKansasCityPodcast.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Kansas City Pod. Patrick, it's been fantastic having you on the show today.
I have had a great time.
Thank you for coming by for our Halloween-themed episode.
Have me back anytime.
I
if you want me to
absolutely
do a
will.
Christmas episode, I'll do a Christmas episode.
We can talk Christmas episode. We can talk Bad Santa all day long.
Yes, there are lots of horror movies that are set at Christmas. We can talk
Krampus.
Krampus, Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yeah, yep. I'm trying to think here. What's the Jeeper? No, Helter. No. Well,
This is like me with Bar Louie.
yeah, you with Bar Louie. What's the one where it's the snow creature? The horror movie with the snow monster.
Empire Strikes Back.
Yes. And that is the exact one I was looking for. Thank you. Yes, The Empire Strikes Back. Great Christmas flick. They love the Ice Planet Hoth.
Yes,
That
yes.
whole movie is there on Hoth. Han Solo's wearing a Santa hat. I
snow
remember
monster.
it well. I remember it well. Patrick, thank you again for being on the
Hey,
show.
no problem.
Appreciate it. We will see you next time here on the Kansas City Podcast.